Welcome to Financially Speaking, brought to you by Buska Retirement Solutions and its affiliate firms. We offer retirement, tax, and legacy planning from a dedicated family-built team. In today's episode, we're reviewing how reverse mortgages operate, the potential advantages and drawbacks, and the situations where a reverse mortgage might be a helpful tool, and how financial stress doesn't just hurt your wallet, but how it can actually take a toll on your body. And now for our weekly question and answer segment.
Welcome back to Financially Speaking with Cole Bruner and Logan Waller from Buska Retirement Solutions. Today's topic is reverse mortgages. Generally a last resort, but useful under certain conditions. So good topic to talk about today.
Yeah.
I think that people see them on TV all the time. You got
Henry Winkler.
Wilford Brimley, is he one too? He's a different kind of thing.
I think he was a different thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Either way, childhood celebrities for retirees talking about reverse mortgages.
Right.
What is one and how does it work?
Well, I mean, ultimately, a reverse mortgage is a way of cashing out equity from your primary residence. There's caveats, there's restrictions, there's insurances and fees and all sorts of different things that you have to be aware of. They are federally regulated now. They are referred to now as a home equity conversion mortgage, but the term reverse mortgage just kind of stuck around. So there is more regulation associated with them nowadays than there was like maybe pre-2008 as an example. But I mean, I have seen certain circumstances where clients can possibly benefit from them.
Yeah.
But it's very, very contingent on that client's circumstances. So certainly, don't just assume that Henry Winkler knows best about your financial situation. You want to meet with a financial professional, maybe in addition to a mortgage professional, because of course, keep in mind that there are commissions associated with these types of things. And so, that fiduciary obligation may not exist in that type of a relationship. And so you want to be looking at it from both sides, both the financial side and also the lending side in terms of whether or not it actually makes sense for your personal circumstances. Because, I mean, let's say you're in a situation where you're struggling to pay your mortgage payment.
Right.
Maybe you're retired now, you're mid-60s or 70s, and you're in a situation where maybe you're just struggling a little bit to pay that mortgage obligation. Maybe you're not necessarily in need of additional retirement money, but it would just be a big relief if you didn't have to pay your mortgage payment anymore. A reverse mortgage could be something to investigate in that type of a situation. But again, it's going to be very specific, and not everybody is going to benefit from it. In fact, I would say there's going to be a pretty small segment of the population overall that really should consider doing that type of a process.
Kind of if emergency break glass. But there's
absolutely
probably there's people on here whose parents are in the situations. I mean, you look at just the fixed costs you think in retirement, property taxes go up, they pass a new levy to improve the school. Eggs are $37 a dozen, I think now. Or whatever.
Exactly.
So it happens or could happen. What are the main advantages to it? Because you used to hear, you lose your house, or whatever it was. Mm-hmm. What are the main advantages to it?
Really comes down to income generation in retirement, beyond what Cole just talked about. But a lot of people...
Eliminating payments,
eliminating payment. But a lot of people will come in and ask about this. I actually have some clients coming in tomorrow, and that's what they want to talk about because they want to free up and get more income when they're already retired and not have to go get a part-time job or something like that.
Sure.
So then they can do more, whether it's hobbies, traveling, whatever they want to do with it. It's not that simple though. So, but that can be one of the advantages is just having income in retirement beyond what you originally had planned.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Yeah, being able to access a portion of your home equity either as a lump sum or in streams of payments while you're still living in your home. But I mean, there's rules, you have to be over 62 years old to be able to do it. And you and your spouse need to be over 62. And, I mean, ultimately you also have to be aware of the potential risks, I mean, if you intend for your property value to go to, let's say, your kids at some point in the future. Well, depending on how long you live and at what age you do a reverse mortgage, there might not be any equity left in your home at the time that you pass away and it transitions on. In order to retain that home, they may have to pay off a pretty sizable mortgage at that time. Right. So, I mean, there's pros and cons, as there is with everything in life. Mm-hmm. But in terms of the reverse mortgage specifically, there are definitely things that you want to go into it with eyes completely wide open on to make sure that you understand how those things will affect you not only today, but also how they might impact you in the future.
Well, let's talk about that because, like you're saying, it's pretty easy for me. Well, I could use a couple $100,000 and sitting in my house over here.
Right?
Can I just get it out and use it? Not that simple. What are the drawbacks? You hear non-recourse terms and all these things that you hear.
Yeah.
What things do you want to have your eyes open on?
I think fees and expenses are a big part of it. Understanding that you are going to have a pretty substantial upfront expense in relation to doing that reverse mortgage. Definitely. You're going to have FHA insurance fees. You're going to have closing costs, appraisal fees, all these different things. So no different than a traditional mortgage. You have closing costs. You have all these different things that you have to be responsible for up front. Now, granted, oftentimes the reverse mortgage itself, the equity that you're accessing is just going to be reduced by those fees and expenses, but that doesn't mean that you're not paying them.
Right.
You know, ultimately, if there's $10,000 worth of fees and expenses and upfront costs associated with producing that loan, and so instead of getting $100,000 out of your reverse mortgage, now you're only getting 90. That still cost you $10,000,
right?
You know,
right.
So you have to be aware of that. You also have to be aware of some of the restrictions. You know, the fact that you're not going to be able to access 100% of your home's equity. Let's say
you can't just buy a Corvette with it.
No, I mean you certainly shouldn't. Can you? Yeah, you probably could. Is that advisable for your financial situation? That's another question, Brian. But obviously, there's caveats. There's things that you have to be aware of. You know, understanding that you still have a mortgage, but now instead of making payments to the mortgage, those payments are essentially adding up to your value. They're increasing your loan balance over the course of time, which will have to be paid off at some point.
You're going to pay it later.
Absolutely. Whether that be you when you decide to sell the house at some point in the future, or your kids when they sell the house, the bank when they sell the house after you're no longer living there. All of those different circumstances, that loan is going to get paid back at some point in time. The advantage is now part of that upfront expense that you're responsible for is that insurance cost, that FHA insurance. And the advantage there is, let's say in a worst case scenario, when you pass away, your house is worth $300,000, but the loan has increased to $350,000. Well, that insurance is going to pay that difference. So at the very least, that doesn't fall on your heirs now, because that could be a not so fortunate conversation for your kids to be having amongst one another is who's going to pay the $50,000 that we have to give back to the bank, right?
Fun estate plan.
Absolutely.
And that's just another, I guess, con that could be is you're messing with your estate plan, right? Because one of the biggest assets, as we said in previous episodes, could be your business, something like that, but it's also your home.
Yeah. Right.
Especially in the area where we have a lot of farms and land and hunting land and all this stuff. So your
legacy type land.
Exactly. That could have been in the family like a cabin for generations, and now because you need some more income or whatnot, you're giving that up.
Yeah.
The other big thing is, like Cole had mentioned, is just what the future holds if you do that reverse mortgage. So if you miss paying your real estate taxes because they go up and you didn't have the plan for that cost to go up, you miss that payment. Just by missing it one time and defaulting, now you have a possibility of dealing with a foreclosure, and now you can't live in that house anymore, or whatever it may be. So there can be some circumstances that can cause some hurt down the road if you don't know what you're doing.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to guess that because there was regulation changed in 2008, government steps in, regulates them. You guys seem like you've seen some nightmare stories that there's a discrepancy on perhaps how they're positioned versus how they actually work. Is that a fair statement?
For sure. And I think that part of what the new regulation implemented was new disclosure laws and all of these
how
things.
It really works.
Correct. Spelling it out very clearly for that prospective client so that they know what they're going into. But again, reverse mortgages can pay some pretty handsome commissions. So you want to be aware of how that works and maybe having conversations with multiple professionals in your life, not just the lender.
Perfect. Let's come back on this because it is a great topic, and I know it is something that can help a lot of people.
It can.
Just to make sure we understand what we're getting into.
Definitely.
After a short break, we'll examine alternatives, heirs implications, and how to evaluate if this is right for you, so stay tuned.
Do you have a plan for how your assets will be handled after you're gone? Without one, the state could end up making life's most important decisions for your family. Through our partnership with Estate Guru, we make estate planning process simple and affordable, offering wills, powers of attorney, and revocable trusts. On average, our service costs 70% less than the traditional estate attorney fees, and you may even qualify for free financial and healthcare power of attorneys. Call our office today to get started.
You've likely heard about the new tax bill, but do you really know what it means for you? It changes how overtime and tips are taxed, makes several tax cuts permanent, and introduces a new deduction for those 65 and older. With updates like these, now is a great time to revisit your financial strategy. I'm Cole Bruner from Buska Retirement Solutions. Let's talk about how these changes could affect you and what steps you can take. Call us at 715-355-4445 to schedule your complimentary consultation.
And now back to our weekly question and answer segment.
Before the break, we reviewed how reverse mortgages operate, pros such as supplemental income, staying put. Here are the follow-ups. Let's get back into this here. How you mentioned upfront costs, continuing obligations. How does that affect the net benefit to it?
Well, I mean, obviously your upfront costs are going to reduce the bang for your buck, so to speak. You know, I mean, also age can potentially play into it. The younger you are when you're doing it, the less equity the bank is going to let you access, obviously, because you're going to potentially hold it for a longer period of time based on your life expectancy. You also need to make sure that you're doing it for the right reasons. You know, do you really have a need for that? You know, whether it be elimination of payment, access to cash, access to another income stream, whatever it might be? Or is it just maybe that we desire a potential? Yeah, it's nice to have, but will the benefits outweigh the drawbacks? You know, and I think that that's where you really need to take some time to analyze it and analyze it with other professionals that have your best interest in mind, because there might be some things, some drawbacks that you're not necessarily thinking about that also should be part of that conversation.
Probably nice to have advice from someone who doesn't have a dog in that fight either.
Absolutely.
They can just look at it and
I like to call it the what if game.
Yeah.
You know, what if this happens? What if this happens? And then we can start to think about those things, because if you do go forward with a reverse mortgage, that could impact some government programs like Medicaid for you.
I was just going to go there with
Absolutely.
God, we're on the same wavelength here. Perfect segue.
You're in a situation where you need money. That's why you're going to your if emergency break glass. But same things the Medicaid's for. How does that all play a part in that?
So a lot of the government-ran programs like Medicaid or Social Security Disability, or also called SSI, right? But that's a lot of the times based on income streams or amount of income you get. So if you're not setting up that reverse mortgage correctly and you're getting more than what those stipulations for those government programs are, that can cause, you know, some more expenses down the road where now you might not get covered under a certain Medicaid program and you have to pay out of pocket, which defeats the purpose of why those programs are there for you. So
yeah, you could knock yourself out of eligibility for some sort of benefit or anything along those lines without really realizing it. So again, that whole going into it with eyes wide open concept that we've talked about, make sure you've got them open.
So I guess the common thing too is misconception is I'm going to pay my house off.
Yeah.
Because once I pay my house off, I have no more living costs. But there are still other costs associated. Taxes, all those. Like, what other things do you have to think about from an expense standpoint?
Well, I think the biggest things would be the two main obligations: property taxes and homeowners insurance. You have to keep the property insured. You have to keep the property taxes paid.
There's still a big chunk of
Absolutely. I mean, that could be a sizable amount of money that you're paying out still monthly, annually, whatever it might be, and you need to make sure that that's budgeted for. But also because of the FHA insurance that comes with it, that property has to stay in FHA eligible condition, which means that all of a sudden, if the soffit's falling off the house or the siding's falling off or something's falling into disrepair, that maintenance is required. You have to keep it of that condition in order to continue to qualify for that loan. And so
somebody else is owning your home now.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Okay. So that somebody else has interest in your collateral all of a sudden, right? And so if you're not keeping it in good repair, if electrical issues come up down the road, all those different things, the property has to be safe, in good condition, all of those things have to be continued to maintained into the future, or that loan could come due
Or you could find yourself in a situation where you've got to handle a big expense. I mean, if you have to reside an entire house, you'd be looking at $20,000+ now. You need a new roof, 2025, who knows? So I mean, all of these things that you have to be aware of that you're still responsible for. You know, that's still your house at the end of the day. You have to keep it in good condition, and you have to keep it in FHA required condition. So being aware of all of those rules and responsibilities is also important to find out beforehand too.
Right. And I suppose that's a difference too, like you guys mentioned, of are you in a spot where you need the money, or nice to have the money? You have more elsewhere.
Yeah, and keeping up with that maintenance, I like to say that I'm a handyman, but when it actually comes down, I've been remodeling my basement for way too long because I think I can do it all.
Right.
Right. And a lot of people are thinking about it that way, but you can't do your plumbing on your own typically, or I'm not getting electrocuted with some electrical work.
Thank you.
So you have to hire those trades type of people, and that comes with a hefty expense too, especially with costs of goods going up, whether it's lumber or whatnot. So there's a lot of added expenses that could happen with that maintenance.
Yeah, absolutely.
My favorite is when I demo the part and then don't do the rebuild.
Right.
I take it apart and I
seen
don't
my
fix
house
it.
then.
Yes, I've seen all of our houses then. So let's get to the big thing of they keep the house, I lose the house, they'll take it from me, or like the farm, the kids don't get it. They think they understood that they got it, but they don't. How does that work at the end of the reverse mortgage? Those two people pass away, the couple are single, whatever. What happens there?
Well, ultimately, there's a couple of different possibilities. Either one, the person or people inheriting the property pay off the loan to the bank and keep the property.
Had interest involved.
Of course, and that interest is ticking up over the course of time. It's also variable rate, you know, so over time that interest rate is going to flex.
Probably not bare minimum.
No, and right now they're probably pretty darn high with current interest rate environment, right? So the first possibility is they pay off the remaining balance, whatever it might be, and they retain the property for themselves. If they intend to keep it, whatever they want to do, or if they want to sell it themselves, they can absolutely do that. They can sell the property and pay off the loan with the proceeds, or they can simply give it back to the bank and say, it's up to you guys to deal with it, and the bank will then sell it, and of course, keep the proceeds for the loan, and they would get back any difference in value. You know, so if the value was $300,000, they sold the property for $310,000, they take the $300,000 to pay off the loan, the $10,000 goes to the heirs, obviously, in that scenario. So in the event that the value of the loan is higher than the property, that's where that insurance that they have to pay for up front is going to come into play. So the best part about it is if there is a difference in value, that's not going to fall on your family to have to pay that difference, thankfully.
Right. Okay. So this all comes down to, I think, when you're either in retirement looking forward, or you're at the point where you're like, man, it would just be nice to have more money. I'm assuming when you're out of money, you're out of money. That's an easier solution, but that's a definite answer. But I think a lot of it comes from I could use some more money to do the things I want to do.
Yeah.
What other options do people have instead of reverse mortgage? What have you guys seen people do creatively?
The first thing is downsizing.
Yeah. Sure.
Maybe you had that family home that made sense when you had 3 kids and you need 5 bedrooms and multiple layers of, whatever, basement, second story.
All things to clean and heat and cool.
Exactly, exactly. So
and pay tax on.
And pay taxes on, right? Which we've seen have been going up, right?
Absolutely.
But downsizing can get you onto just that one level you might need because you don't want to handle stairs, or you can't handle stairs anymore.
Right. Yep.
And maybe you don't need the 5 bedrooms, you only need 2 or whatever, right? So it's downsizing, using some of the proceeds from the sale of that house to pay for the new one, or moving into senior living, a condo, whatever it may be, something that's more affordable.
Absolutely.
Then you have a chunk of change on the side that we can work strategies with, whether that's immediate outcome and paying you, investing it. It can just go spiderweb from there. So there's a lot.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing that a lot of people look at doing.
Yeah, sure. And I mean, obviously, analyzing budget, trying to figure out where can we cut some things out, I mean, that's another good place to focus on, because it might not be a problem of creating more income. It might be more of an issue of let's find some ways to pare back in these different areas that might end up accomplishing the goal, rather than having to pay all these expenses to do this reverse mortgage.
Understood. So don't always look at the thing that you're buying or the thing that you're getting. talk about the root cause of why you want it,
Yep.
and then explore your options as to how can you solve that problem.
Absolutely.
Give these guys a call if you have any questions on those. You find yourself in that retirement spot, or parents or friends or loved ones that you can help, at least maybe get them the answers that they do need. Gentlemen, thank you. That was very helpful. I appreciate it. You hear a lot about those things, but rarely do you understand them.
True.
Of course, we're
Thanks
here
for
that.
joining us today. Have a great day.
At Buska, our goal is to streamline the retirement planning process to help you move towards a successful retirement with confidence and ease. Through our 3 companies, we provide a comprehensive approach to planning your future. We work closely with you to create a personalized, comprehensive retirement plan that reflects your unique goals and financial situation. Our team integrates investment management, income planning, tax strategies, estate planning, health insurance, and Medicare planning all under one roof. That means fewer appointments, less stress, and more clarity as you prepare for life's next chapter. Whether you're just starting to think about retirement or looking for a second opinion on your current plan, we're here to help you feel more confident about your financial future. Call us today at 715-355-4445 or visit retirewithbuska.com to schedule your complimentary, no-obligation consultation. Let's make retirement planning easier together.
And now, our Financially Speaking weekly desk segment.
Welcome back to Financially Speaking. I'm Sue Buska from Buska Retirement Solutions, and joining me today is Ryan Pekka. So today we're going to be talking about something that literally can make you sick: financial stress.
That's right, Sue. We often think about money problems as well. Money problems, bills, debts, budgets. But a new study from University College London found that financial stress doesn't just hurt your wallet, it can actually take a toll on your body. Viewers, you can read about this in an article by University College of London titled "Financial Stress Linked to Worse Biological Health."
Well, it's a fascinating study, and it shows that being stressed about money can physically change what's going on inside of you. Isn't that right, Ryan?
That's exactly right. The UCL researchers found that financial strain disrupts how your immune system, nervous system, and hormones communicate. Basically, your body can start acting like it's under attack. Your inflammation rises, stress hormones spike, and over time that can contribute to problems like heart disease, high blood pressure, and even depression.
So if you're constantly worried about paying rent or keeping up with bills, your body can literally become in fight or flight mode.
Right. The study looked at nearly 5,000 people over 50 and found that those who reported financial strain were almost 60% more likely to fall into high-risk group for poor biological health 4 years later.
Well, that's really a big deal, and there's more evidence that this isn't just about biology. Another recent study published in Nature briefing titled "Financial Assets and Mental Health Over Time" found that wealth itself, not just income, is tied to better mental health.
Yes, that study followed adults from 2022 through 2023, right through the pandemic, and found that people with more financial assets, such as savings, retirement accounts, or investments, were far less likely to experience symptoms of depression or anxiety. Wealth still mattered.
Well, so someone earning a steady paycheck but with little in savings might feel more anxious than someone earning the same amount but with a cushion in the bank.
Exactly. It's not just how much you make, it's what you keep. Think of wealth as emotional armor. When you have a little padding, whether it's an emergency fund, a 401k, or even a modest rainy day account, it helps you handle life's curveballs and helps you avoid triggering that constant sense of panic.
That makes total sense. And when the roof leaks or the water heater dies, you don't need to spiral. Now, if you have enough money saved to solve those problems.
Right. That sense of security protects your mental health, and it can add up over time. The study published in Nature Briefing found that adults with less than $5,000 in assets were significantly more likely to screen positively for anxiety or depression than those with $100,000 or less.
Well, that's not so terribly surprising, is it? Because $100,000 can cover a lot of different emergencies. When you've got less than $5,000, you have to pick and choose. So if your car breaks down or your dryer goes on the fritz at the same time, you're probably going to have to prioritize the car. And then, taking your clothes to a laundromat, which takes up a little bit more of your time too.
That's a great example. Here's another example. Say you're injured, but your insurance doesn't cover much of your bill. Your hospital bill could be more than what you have in your savings. You could be wiped out and still be in debt. It just shows that financial wellness is about stability, not just about getting rich. You don't have to be rich to feel safe. You just need enough margin to help you avoid living in constant stress mode.
Yeah. So what can people do to lower financial stress, even if they're not rolling in extra cash?
That's a great question, Sue. First, focus on what you can control. Make a simple budget that fits your reality. Second, automate small savings. Even a savings of just $20 a week adds up and builds confidence.
What about paying down debt?
Yeah, that's another great example. Paying off debt that you owe can save money in a way because the sooner you pay it off, the less you may end up having to pay in interest. Additionally, once you have that debt paid off, you can channel that money into savings. Lastly, take care of your mental health directly. Exercise, meditate, or talk to someone if you're feeling overwhelmed.
I like that. Small, consistent steps can change both your finances and your biology.
Exactly, because when your mind and your money are both healthy, you're not just surviving, you're thriving.
Well said. And if you'd like to learn more about how to manage financial stress and build long-term stability, visit us at retirewithbuska.com or give us a call at 715-355-4445. We'll be right back with more Financially Speaking after this.
If you're 59 and a half or have recently changed jobs, now might be the perfect time to consider a 401k rollover. Rolling over your old 401ks could simplify your finances and give you more control from investment options and costs to how and when you make withdrawals. A rollover could give you the opportunity to partner with a financial services professional and tailor your investments to your specific needs, not a company's group plan. Call our office today to schedule your complimentary consultation and see if a 401k rollover is right for you.
With recent market changes, it's understandable that some people are feeling a little anxious about their financial future. That's why now might be a perfect time to review your financial plan. A financial services professional is trained to help you stay focused on the facts, not emotions, when it comes to your strategy. Getting a second opinion today works to ensure your investments are properly positioned to weather market volatility and that you're not taking on more risk than you realize. Let's work to make sure your plan is ready for whatever comes next. Call us today to schedule a complimentary review with one of our financial professionals.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's edition of Financially Speaking. We're glad that you were able to join us today, and we hope that you learned some really useful retirement tips along the way.
On today's show, we covered a number of important topics, and hopefully we did so in a manner that was easy for you to understand. This is the same way we communicate to our clients when we meet with them in person. Remember, with the help of the right financial services professional, you can create a quality retirement, and our team is here to help with that. Right now may be a great time to get a second opinion on your retirement plan. Call us at 715-355-4445 or go to retirewithbuska.com to continue your retirement education, catch up on previous episodes of our TV and radio show, or to schedule your complimentary, no obligation consultation.
If you have any questions or comments about today's show, call us at 715-355-4445 or feel free to send us an email at info@retirewithbuska.com. Join us next week at the same time and same place for another episode of Financially Speaking.